What's going on YouTube? I'm your host Joss. Welcome back to InformOverload. Follow the IO team on social media. Our links are down below. And stick around for the fun at the end of this video. We do daily comment features and some bonus content. Today we're taking a look at the dark side of adoption. I'm going to dish out 10 scary adoption stories that went horribly wrong. Starting off our list, number 10 is the Prison Sisters. A woman named Cherry Willoughby saw a photograph of two angelic looking sisters and was over the moon when she got the news that they were going to be her new daughters. Mary Ann was 3 years old and her sister Nicola was only 6 months old. The girls struggled in their foster homes because they were born to a deeply troubled mother and had bounced between foster homes because of it. Cherry and her husband hoped to create a stable and loving home for them, but things turned out worse than they could have ever imagined. The girls struggled to adjust and suffered from emotional trauma and anger, and they are now in their 20s and both of them are currently in prison. Mary Ann's crime made national news headlines because it was so shocking. She was a member of a vicious gang who burnt and tortured a woman with a red hot iron and slashed her with a kitchen knife. Cherry admits that there were signs of anger throughout their childhood, saying that Mary Ann would dismember all of her dolls and gouge their eyes out. Turns out that the girl's biological mother had also been imprisoned for murder, so you know what they say, the apple does not fall far from the tree. Next up at number 9 is a story about a girl named Zahina. A woman named Julie Jarman fell in love with a 7-year-old girl from Tanzania named Zahina. She thought because she had her own 11-year-old daughter that she could handle bringing home an adopted sister for her. Julie claims that Zahina just seemed shy at first, but as time went on her true colors came out and they were pretty dark. Zahina started to resent Julia and would lash out on both her and her daughter Laura. She started to refuse anything that Julie asked of her and became a bully instead. Julie shares a story saying that she once asked Zahina to take off her muddy boots in the doorway, but instead she walked through the house, took off her boots, and then put them directly on Laura's cards that she was playing with. She would often go out of her way to purposely upset them, and after months of working with a psychiatrist and social services, she decided to give Zahina back. Swiping the number 8 spot is porn addiction. In 2014, a woman named Iris came forward with her nightmare adoption story after adopting a boy with her partner back in 2009. They both admit that their lives became dysfunctional ever since they brought him home. In her story, she shared a laundry list of issues that their son had, including stealing, bullying, and lying, which might kind of seem like typical rebellion behavior, but as he got older things got worse, and it all started with him exposing himself to a teacher's assistant at just 12 years old. After that, he threatened to bash the neighbor's daughter's head in with a rock and then plucked all of the family bird's feathers out and set a salamander on fire in front of younger children. Basically, things just went from 0 to 100. Real quick. On top of all of that, he had a serious porn addiction and ordered $100 worth of porn on the family cable connection every morning during his school vacation. As you can imagine, that added up very quickly, because school vacation is a few months long. The couple ended up terminating their parental rights and returned the boy to the foster care system, but this was after they tried therapy with him for years. They now admit that they are going through counseling themselves to heal from the whole situation. Coming into number 7 is post-adoption depression. A young girl named Julia was adopted from a Siberian orphanage back in 2003 and suffered from a rare form of depression. Julia's mother shared her adoption story and said that Julia never showed any affection to her new family. Not just affection, but she barely showed any emotion at all. She said it got to a point where if someone was talking to her, she just refused to respond and would basically just stare at them. Her mother explains it and said, I quote, "It was like she was there but wasn't." After feeling like she was basically living with a doll, it sent her mother into a depression herself, and the family decided to hire a nanny to try and help the situation. They still haven't been able to figure out the girl's aloof personality, but they are trying. In spot number 6 is anger issues. An anonymous mother shared her frustration on a parenting forum after feeling completely overwhelmed with her choice to adopt. She adopted a daughter and quickly saw a dark side to her, realizing that she took pleasure in hurting her other family members. The girl had a very unhealthy amount of anger, so the family tried counseling, medication, and even special therapy, but they still did not see a difference. They said the young girl was constantly screaming at and tormenting their other children, and that she had no problem telling all authorities that she hates them. The poor mother admits that she takes the blame for adopting and bringing the violent girl into their family, and says that it has even put a strain on her marriage. Halfway through the list, number 5 is traumatic past. Many parents who adopt believe that they can love and care for a child so much that it will erase the child's traumatic past, but unfortunately that is not always the case. A couple named Melissa and Todd Puchala adopted a 16-year-old Liberian girl named Quita, and they quickly learned that she had severe health and behavioral problems due to what she faced in her past. They shared their story, but they didn't want to go into specific details, but they said she was so violent and unpredictable that they felt unsafe and lived in constant fear. They ended up handing her off to other parents in another state, which they found through a Yahoo message board. No attorneys or welfare officials were involved in the exchange, which seems like it's illegal, but apparently it's actually very common, especially when it involves international adoptions. Up next, number 4 is reactive attachment disorder. A Reddit user shared her experience online, stating that she wasted 10 years of her life with a very hostile adopted child who tormented her entire family. The couple described their experience as, I quote, a living hell. They claimed that they weren't prepared because they were kept in the dark about the true nature of Eastern European orphanages. Children that come from them often suffer from reactive attachment disorder, which is a condition similar to PTSD. The girl was 9 years old when she was adopted and came from a life full of lies and abuse. At 13 years old, the girl told her adoptive parents that she would be leaving them at 18 years old, and she did follow through with her words. Turns out that she ended up moving out with an abusive ex-boyfriend the moment that she turned 18. The Reddit user says that they were left heartbroken and still wonder what they could have done differently throughout the adoption process. Alright guys, we are in the third spot with the story of a violent 5-year-old. Stacey Connor is a 41-year-old mom who volunteered in an orphanage in Haiti in 2005 when she decided that she wanted to adopt. Her and her husband Matt decided to adopt 2 children. They brought home a 5-year-old boy and a 1-year-old girl, both from Haiti. They said their multicultural family was magical at first, but that it only lasted about 2 weeks. The 5-year-old boy, who she calls Jay during her interview, started pinching other children and getting violent with their family members. Pinching soon turned into hitting, and hitting turned into punching. It got to a point where he hit Stacey's nose and caused it to bleed profusely. They started working with an adoption agency for secondary replacements, and he was relocated to another family. Taking the number 2 spot on our list is Rosie. In 2009, a woman named Sue Wood told the Daily Mail the nightmare she faced when she and her husband adopted a young angel-faced girl named Rosie. Sue picked up on her odd behavior the first meeting they ever had with her. She says that Rosie looked at her and whispered, "Do you like hurting people?" Sue said she felt uneasy about it, but didn't let it hinder their decision to bring her home. She's a police detective and thought that she'd be prepared for whatever was to follow. Rosie became violent and angry on a daily basis, and one time ran into the middle of oncoming traffic, laughing just to get Sue's attention. They said they couldn't take her in public because she would destroy the shelves at every grocery store, and in the movies, she would refuse to sit in the chair and she would only stand on it. They say that she didn't know how to use cutlery, she didn't understand bedtime, and when she spoke, she would only whisper. That's so scary. Sue described her experience living with her, saying that it was like she was raised by wolves. Social services are still trying to help her progress, and she does remain with Sue and her husband. In our number 1 spot is Natalia Barnett. Her story recently surfaced and has the entire world in a frenzy trying to figure out what the truth is behind this adopted girl. Natalia was adopted from the Ukraine in 2010 by a woman named Christine Barnett and her then husband Michael. They were recently charged with neglect after leaving the 11-year-old Natalia to fend for herself in an apartment. But they came forward saying that she's actually 22 years old and that she's a mentally disturbed adult posing as a little girl, and that she threatened to kill them, which is why they had left the apartment. She claims that Natalia has tried to poison her with bleach one time when she caught her putting bleach in her coffee cup. She also stood over their bed one night with sharp objects, saying that she was going to kill them, and even drew a picture of her rolling the family members into blankets and burying them in the backyard. Doctors have confirmed that she's diagnosed with dwarfism and that she has a period, adult teeth, and breasts. Natalia's birth mother, though, came forward saying that the Barnetts are lying and that she is in fact just a child. The story has so many twists and turns to it, but we are still trying to figure out which side of the story is true and who is the real Natalia Barnett. This whole thing just sounds like a nightmare. Well, we are at the end here, guys. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the thumbs up button and share your thoughts with me down in the comments. I want to hear from you. On a happier note, let's finish off our video with some comment shoutouts. Limitless says, Jocelyn, what's up? On a scale of 1 to 10, you're a 9 and I'm the one you need. Honestly, I am so impressed by this pickup line, like, I might start using it myself. Tiffany Regron says, that must have been a kid that left that comment about you acting like a mom because I think you're awesome. Well, thanks, Tiffany. Honestly, I don't get offended by someone saying I look like a mom. I kinda dress like a soccer mom sometimes. Or a teacher. Original Astrella says, happy Thanksgiving in Canada, IO team, and the rest of the Landon production staff. Aw, thank you. Honestly, I ate way too much pumpkin pie for my own good. Like, it was probably disgusting how much dessert I ate. Jocelyn Munker says, it's very unique when you hear the name Jocelyn, and not a very popular name. Oh hey girl, we're twinning. I think I met one once, but she spelled her name differently. Alright, I'm getting out of here. Thanks for hanging out with me. To keep watching more of our videos, just click the playlist on your screen. It is right over here. I'm your host Joss, and I will see you in a future video.